the lesser evil here the other time, you remember I was on this platform and I was asking you that if you were to bring Rigathi Gachagwa and William Samoei Ruto to go through same trial, who would be sentenced for a lesser evil than the other? Then I was looking at a list of nearly 61 parastatal CEOs, 61 parastatal CEOs from one community. 61 parastatal CEOs from one community. How do you define that? 61 CEOs from one community, 61. How do you define that? Isn't that one, tribalism? And I agree with my brother Innocent, whom I rarely agree with, Bernard, that we have reached the point where kufa makanga, kufa dereva, where if Rigathi Gachagwa must go home, William Samoei Ruto must also go home. Let me just stop there and perhaps allow somebody else to come in. Then I'll come in later on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wangira. We appreciate that. Good way to look at it. All together, kufa makanga, kufa dereva, ili atakayepona apone. It is interesting times in this country, but when we cease to seek public good, we become devils along the way, and that's what I believe is at play right now. We are all created by God to be a facilitator of betterment of life, and that life must be geared towards public good. But when we begin to use public offices for selfish interest, we turn into devils, and that is what we are seeing manifest right now. This level of greed and personal pursuit is unmatched, and is really, really disturbing. All in all, let's, before Justice can come in, let's just get this out of the way, and then I think we can bring in Justice.
On a good year, when everything is working perfectly, the Social Health Authority would have control of 273 billion.
Hii vita yote munaona ati nikiambiwa ninaongoza ukabila ni kwa sababu ya kusema hata Uhuru Kenyatta ni mtoto wetu.
Sema ni dynasty baya.
Nimefanya makosa.
Hasara tawala.
Wananigeukia, vigeu.
When I say Eldoret munasema city.
Hatuna muda tafadhali. Nataka tutoe maoni tafadhali. Nimeambiwa sina muda.
Kasongo yeye. Mombali nanga.
Tukisema harambe munasema usiguze mlima.
Harambe! Wasiguze mlima.
Unasungusha watu mpaka hata kasi ya Yesu fanyika kwa sababu yako.
Ati wewe kwa sababu ni rafiki ya rais ati ukue bosi yangu. Wanataka ati kuniamrisha mimi vile nitafanya kazi.
Unasikia mtu anasimama kila siku na kusema mimi ndio msema kweli. Mimi ndio msema na wewe ndio muongo mkubwa.
If you are afraid to the president, keep your friendship. Wachana na mimi.
Sasa wacha kwanza niongee na Sudi.
Tafuteni mtu mwingine kwanza wa kutisha.
Wewe Sudi wewe. Wewe kwanza hukusoma wewe.
Mimi nilipita vitisho kitambo.
Wewe ujue tunakujua vizuri.
Mimi ni mtu ninafanya vita mingi. Hiyo vita yenu ni kidogo na ni baridi.
Hiyo madharau mumeanza. Sisi ndio dawa yako Sudi.
Ama tununue uoga.
Hii joto mnaona wako nayo. Juzi rais alikuwa China akachukua 43 billion na hiyo 43 billion ni deni. Hiyo ndio joto mnaona Kimani Kimanongo ako nayo.
The only thing we hate is betrayal.
Nimtazame nani, nimwamini nani?
Wanataka kumtoa Rigathi Gachagwa kwa power.
Sasa watu wa mlima bona nasikia mnataka kutoa Gachagwa.
Walifikiria Rigathi Gachagwa ni flower girl. Ni mtu wa kuambiwa asonga anasonga.
William Ruto nilimtoa kwa baa, alikuwa mlevi.
Sasa mimi nasikia kuna viongozi wengine wamelewa ukabila.
Kama hamutaki sisi tena, mkuje hapa Githurai mtuambie hamuna haja na sisi.
Hiyo ni ulevi mbaya ya ukabila.
Ati naambiwa mimi ni mkabila.
My friend, makabila haichaguliwi.
Nikichunga mambo ya watu ya mlima iko makosa.
Bora msiguze mlima.
Kabla mwaka huu ikwishe, Rigathi Gachagwa, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, atakula Christmas akiwa raia wa kawaida.
Ati wabuge wananiuzia uoga ati watanifukuza kwa kazi.
Mlima muachane naye. Na Rigathi muachane naye. Ako na wenyewe.
Wananiuzia uoga.
Nisiuziwe uoga.
Hii serikali tulipata na shida mingi sana.
Ni kweli tulitafuta serikali tukiwa wachache, si ndio?
Kama hamutaki Rigathi Gachagua, sasa CUG itakwisha. Wamelewa ukabila.
Kila siku ni kutega na kutegua na hakuna mayai. Kila siku nitasema. Rigathi Gachagua akasema yeye ni truthful man.
Wamefura, wamekuwa na kiburi mingi. Wanafikiria ati sasa wamefika, wanaweza kuja mlima ati wapange viongozi ya mlima.
Wewe usijaribu kufikiria ati unaweza nitisha sababu uko na cheo inakaribia rais hapo.
Ndama ikikunywa maziwa lazima ikimbie.
Sisi ndio tulipatia William kura ile mingi zaidi. Yeye amekalia State House kwa sababu ya kura zetu.
Na mtu anatuambia hii mlima Kenya, ile kura yote ilipigiwa William Ruto, ilipigiwa sababu yangu.
Musidharau sisi watu ya mlima Kenya. Musituoneshe matapiko.
Rigathi Gachagua impeached himself.
Ni sawa, waleta hiyo impeachment na wakwambia uresign, lakini wakurudishia kura yako ile ulipeleka pale.
Kama nyinyi ni wanaume mleta hiyo impeachment Tuesday. Na mutajua totiale kerea ndo akerea. Nemo kama ya idwe tikuwago kwa mureciria.
Mashimo mnayonichimbia sichimbe marefu. Yeah.
Mambo ni kama hayo mlimani. Tutapona kweli? Justus, namna gani?
Bernard.
Habari ya leo? Niko salama, niambie.
Sijakuona kwa siku nyingi bwana.
Nimerejea. Wewe ndio ulipotea.
Sasa unaona vile tuliuma chuma bwana. Na tulililia huyu mtu anaitwa William Ruto, ndio tunaona kumbe tulikuwa tunalilia shetani. Lakini sasa hata kama niko busy kidogo, niko na dakika 2 naweza ongea kama dakika 2. Mtaniruhusu tu dakika 2 peke yake. Unajua kule mambo yamefika. Hatuna imani na mtu yeyote kwa hawa watu wawili. Na hata kwa hao wabunge hakuna mtu tuna imani naye kwa saa hizi, hakuna. So kule imefika ukweli, kama Gachagwa anaenda, wataenda pamoja na Ruto. Na kubaliana na jambo moja. Kufa dereva, kufa na makanga pia. You know, waenda wote wawili. So tusiache mtu nyuma, lakini it is so frustrating. Tunaonea Kenya yetu imani. Mambo yamekuwa mabaya, vitu zimeharibika, tumeibiwa. Unaona Kenya Rail, Kenya Airways, unaona kile kinaendelea Kenya Airport Authority ni kama kuenda itaenda. Unaona NHIF vile ni kubaya. Kila kitu kinaharibika Kenya hiyo bwana. Mambo ni mabaya. So kufa makanga, kufa dereva. Ni hayo tu kwa saa hii.
Okay, asante sana Justus. Tashukuru. Sawa. Tuko hapa, wewe jiandae urejee tena. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. The maxim, kufa dereva, kufa makanga. Hakuna mzuri kati ya hawa watu wote, na ni muhimu tuelewe hivyo kwa sababu kwa muda mrefu kama wa Kenya tumefanya nini? Tumebeba ujinga, okay? Kila wakati mambo yanaenda mrama, mtu anakimbia anasema ni kabila yetu imeonewa, ni kabila yetu inamalizwa, ni kabila yetu inafanywa hivi na hivi. Kumbe ni yeye na ile mikataba yake alikuwa ameweka imekwenda mrama. Mkataba ungepita hatungesikia. Sasa vile umeenda mrama, anataka kututumia sisi kama kinga ya kujitetea kwamba anaonewa. Sisi kama Wakenya lazima tupevuke, tufungue macho, tusimame imara, tutekeleze wajibu wetu. Mr. Wangira talked about deals and the counter deals. Let me just get that video out of the way, and then we'll go back to Innocent to make his submission. But please get into the studio. Let's get the show running. Please, let's not wait until his 11th hour is when we fill the studio. My time when it arrives, najua nitakwenda kwa imani zote na heshima na taadhima. Nitaondoka. Kwa hivyo tafadhali hakikisha unawahi mapema kuwahi studio na useme yaliyoko moyoni mwako. Nashukuru 74 people Sound Candy Talk live and 59 people wapi Sound Candy Talk. You see, we need to be having more people on Sound Candy Talk than Sound Candy Talk live. But whichever way, let's keep sharing the video, share the link, get more people to participate. For this is the very reason why we're here, to make Kenya recover from the mess we put ourselves into. Thank you. Let's listen to this and see how far this thing is going with us.
We begin in politics tonight, where an alleged meeting between Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa and President William Ruto, where DP Gachagwa allegedly banged the table on his boss in sheer anger after Ruto denied him an 8 billion shilling exit package following sharp differences between the two, is said to be at the center of charges that will be leveled against Gachagwa at the floor of the National Assembly next Tuesday. Now, NTV has learned that there are 9 other charges in the 40-page impeachment motion that is now ready for tabling. Among them, Gachagwa's use of his office to allegedly divert material that should have been used to construct the Malindi to Kilifi highway to the construction of a private road leading to a hotel in Kilifi that is linked to him, as well as Gachagwa's accumulation of 5.7 billion shillings in the last 2 years from other sources, apart from his annual salary of 12 million shillings. NTV's political affairs reporter David Mudhoga digs deep into Gachagwa's impeachment motion and for the first time tells you 10 reasons why MPs want to hang Gachagwa out to dry.
In 72 hours, the fate of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa will be in the hands of members of parliament. An unprecedented impeachment motion against the country's second-in-command is expected to be tabled at the floor of the National Assembly on Tuesday afternoon by one of the over 300 members of parliament who endorsed Gachagwa's historic removal from office. While the week-long drafting of the 40-page motion has been a closely guarded affair, NTV has managed to peruse some of the pages of the motion and spoken to a number of lawmakers privy to it in an attempt to identify the charges that will form the grounds for Gachagwa's impeachment. The motion has up to 10 charges, top among them being Gachagwa allegedly threatened his boss, President William Ruto. Gachagwa is accused of literally banging the desk in sheer anger at a meeting with his boss after Ruto denied him 8 billion shillings that Gachagwa had asked for to walk away and pave the way for Ruto to appoint his replacement after their relationship turned sour. NTV has been told that Gachagwa arrived at 8 billion shillings after multiplying each vote that Ruto got in the Mount Kenya region in 2022 with 4,000 shillings. The second charge is Gachagwa has allegedly accumulated billions of shillings in the past 2 years that he has been at Harambee House Annex through corruption. In the charge, Gachagwa is accused of allegedly acquiring up to 5.7 billion shillings in just a couple of years, yet his salary per year is 12 million shillings, meaning in the past 2 years he should have made around 24 million shillings. The third charge that is likely to be leveled against Gachagwa is use or abuse of his office to allocate public resources to himself. Under the charge, Gachagwa is accused of allegedly diverting material that should have been used to construct the Malindi to Kilifi highway to the construction of a private road leading to a hotel in Kilifi that is linked to him. Other charges that are likely to be leveled against the deputy president include sponsoring goons to disrupt the June, July, and August Gen Z demonstrations, thus posing a threat to national security, leaking state secrets despite taking an oath of secrecy, as well as intimidating, threatening, and publicly slating leaders and state officials, such as some members of parliament and most notably National Intelligence Service Director General Nudin Haji. More charges include promoting tribalism through his shareholder and one man, one vote, one shilling narratives, as well as publicly opposing some of the government policies and cabinet decisions. Following these accusations and others, some members of parliament are convinced that Gachagwa, having meteorically rose from a first-time MP to the second most powerful seat in the country, has had a great run. Other leaders want Gachagwa taken to a court of law should he be impeached.
Ukabila ni kitu mzuri ama ni mbaya? Sisi wote tulani ukabila. Tunasema shetani afanya namna gani? Kenya haiwezi kuwa kabila moja. Kenya haiwezi kuwa mtu moja. Kenya ni ya sisi wote.
Wewe ulipepa Biblia ukadanganya Mungu, Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie to run the government. And then you start contradicting the government policies, and yet you sit in the cabinet. You sit in the National Security Committee, and you create a departure. You should be arrested. There's no any country that can tolerate such a person.
David Muthoka, NTV.
Mambo ni kama hayo, mabibi na mabwana, tunapoendelea na mjadala wetu. Basi inaonekana charge sheet ndio hiyo na makosa ya Gachagwa yamewekwa wazi kama vile wanadaiwa, lakini kwa cha muhimu katika hiyo video ni kwamba kumbe one vote equals to 4,000. Wana innocent. Kumbe hii mambo ni kumbe ni hela.
I like it. By the way, what they are saying is true. I believe the best deputy president we need to have for Mr. Ruto is Gachagwa. Number one. Why? Exactly what Ruto did to Uhuru is being done by Gachagwa. Gachagwa, bravo, you're a good student. We had the stories that wakati Uhuru alikuwa anasema hii kitu tuachane nayo. The then Deputy President Ruto wanted to slap Uhuru. Na hata video tulisikia ya Gachagwa, unajua hatujasikia hiyo clip. Tumeambiwa tu ati aligonga meza. Thank God yeye aligonga meza, lakini huyo mwingine alikuwa kugonga slap on the president. So Gachagwa, bravo, because you're a good student. You learned it well from your boss. Number two, I just love the way this guy is doing. Walikuwa pamoja na amemwambia if you want me, unajua it's a truthful man. Ana amesema unajua Ruto alikuwa amekataa yeye hatatoka. Lakini huyu amesema kama unataka nitoke, the kura nilikupatia, kila kura ni 4,000. Trade. Good. Mwambie akupatie uende. Kama akupatie usitoke. We are knowing. Saizi tumeanza kujua kila kura ni 4,000. Unajua ndio nikwambia Bernard, wacha hao watu wapigane. Because wakipigana there are things tunaendelea kujua. Huyu anarusha hii, anarusha. Bernard, you remember some few days ago, Sudi peke yake alituambia, hii kitu iko imewaka. Akatuambia ati within 2 weeks huyu atakuwa nyumbani. Hata iko maliza 2 days. Watu wameanza kupend the signatures here. And by the way, hii ni wiki ya kwanza na unaona how far this thing has gone. By next week itakuwa ndio the second week na ndio tuliambiwa watakuwa wameenda kama mchezo na tumeona. And Bernard, that's what I'm saying. Wacha wapigane. We'll continue knowing these things. They are helping us to remove them. Please Gachagwa, ukienda nyumbani, enda na your 8 billion. Usiwache, because you did work. Ulilete voters. Na kama mlikuwa mmeagree every vote was 4,000, ulipo uende nyumbani. We are seeing the truthful man with the way he's saying. And number 3, Bernard, ama 4. Hii kitu ikiendelea vizuri, itakuja kufika, we will know what happened at Bomas. And that's why nilikuambia kama walikataa kufungua server, Gachagua atafungua server, watu wa mlima watafungua server. So that's why I'm saying hii kitu wache iendelee. Sisi wache tuendelee na vitu zingine, but hii Bernard wawachie. This one, leave it to them. Wacha waendelee kugongana. The moment they continue, there are some things we will continue knowing, because hizi tumeanza kujua kura ni 4,000, kila kitu tumeanza kuona, na alisema ni karibu sijui 4 million, so asha calculate ameona kitu yake. And I remember the same thing happened when he was being given, when they were choosing the running mate. Gachagua alisima akasema rudishiwe 2 billion zake, so means alicontribute some money. Now Bernard, why I'm not getting it from these guys, especially hii maneno ya kupata pesa ya 5 point something billion na msharaka ni 2 million, karibu 2 million, na amepata 5.8, I don't know, 8 or 7 billion within 2 years. Maybe he's doing business. Wache tu wakuje, let them come hapo watuambie yenyewe, mimi I have 5.8 billion. You know the problem, Bernard, we are not seeing is that when they were being sworn in, walisemanga how much they had. The problem is that we didn't go down tuanze kusoma hizi zenye mlikuwa nayo, hizi zenye unasema you have 200 million in your account, ama in you are worth 200 million, ulitoa wapi? You know, that's one of the mistake we didn't scrutinize vizuri, because sasa kama huyu you remember alikuwa amenyang'anywa karibu 200 million enzi ya Uhuru, na wakianza akarudishiwa. So there are some business hapa, there are some deals which zinaendelea hapo chini zenye hata hatujui. Either they are doing business with the government ama they are stealing the money, and that's why mimi nasema hii kitu iendelee, because through this impeachment we will know since, yani ukweli kama this 5.8 million itaambiwa ilitoka wapi. Tuanze kuenda step by step, tuonyeshwe mahali ilitoka, because we want to follow it mpaka mahali itafika. We will also start following the other people. I was listening to this guy wa Jubilee, Kioni, and he was crying kwa Lynn Ngugi. I don't know whether you see that clip. Akalia akasema ati when the Gen Zs walikuwa wameenda kuuliza some things, kuuliza tu, they were short, and he cried mpaka nikasema my goodness, kumbe there are some politicians wenye wanakuanga na utu. Gen Zs were asking some question, the same question I'm asking, hizi pesa ama umetoa wapi na nini, vitu kama hizo, and somebody is being shot. Now let me give a narration. By the way, Ruto is doing well. Saizi Ruto you will never, Ruto saizi huwezi mpata na scandal, because what he has done, all the businesses he has amesifanya. The only thing he's doing that anajipatia hizo biashara. He has bought hotels, he has bought planes, he has bought lands, mashamba, amefanya kitu. So saizi by the way nakwambia, by 2027 hakuna mahali Ruto utampata ako corrupt. So also we want to go back to him now, tumuulize hizi pesa zenye unanunua all these things, because juzi tu hii ndege hii inaitwaje, was it Skylink kama nini ilianguka, alinunua. Let me tell you Bernard, saizi the aircraft you have of Kenya, the best aircraft you have in Kenya are owned by our president. The best, the good ones, they are owned by the president. So he's doing legit business. Let me tell you again Bernard, most of the MPs saizi wamenunua ndege, wanafanya biashara, and that's why unaona watu wameingilia maneno ya biashara ya either mandege ama nini. So why are they getting this money kununua all these things? So we'll also start asking them one by one. So let them finish with the Ruto, yani Gachagua. We'll also start asking other people. You remember what Morara was saying? that kuna pesa zimewekwa huko nje na anataka kwenda huko nje. People nasikia wanataka kumsponsor aende huko nje, Netherlands, Denmark, nini, waende kutafuta hizo pesa. And you see, people wanafikiri wakificha pesa huko nje hazitajulikana. Some of these countries huko nje, ukiweka pesa huko wanakuja tu wanasema yenyewe huyu mtu ana pesa hapa. They will say, nasikia wengine wamenunua ma lands huko Netherlands, Denmark, watu wanachunga mambuzi huko. So those things tutaanza. So watu wameanza kujua ati hawezi weka biashara in Kenya, wanapeleka huko nje. Also those ones zitaanza kujulikana. Let the game continue. Iendelee with Gachagwa, ndio wengine tutafuata. Thank you, Bernard.
Okay, so thank you, Innocent. We appreciate that. Well put, and the circus in this country are interesting with every passing day. We are a country that is up for grabs, and the grabbers are not sparing anything. And so Kenyans need to be aware of the same. Whatever that is not even well kept, anything that is desired by either the people in power or the people around power, they will take it, and hakuna kile mtawafanya. For that is the attitude and that is the mentality. And so for us to recover this country, we must be willing to fight all the way and get our country back. And so this will play out. We pray it plays out right. And playing out right means mchimba kisima uingia mwenyewe, mpanda hila uvuna majuto. So muhini na muhiniwa njia zao ni sawa. So whatever that is investigating and looking for Gachagwa's downfall, and since they are joined at the hip, let waanguke wote. We'll let them fall, all of them, and that will give us an opportune position for us to help recover what we have lost as a people. But generally, the country is in bad shape, and we as Kenyans need to realize that. Tusikae kana kwamba mambo yako sawa. Hakuna kitu iko sawa katika nchi hii, na tukiendelea hivi tutaipoteza kabisa kabisa. Tumepoteza healthcare, ndio hii wanakimbiza majina na wanakimbiza software na wanakimbiza sijui nini. It is bad. It's bad. The kind of government I grew in is a government that projects, a government that predicts, a government that is predictable, that projects 3 years ahead, 10 years ahead, and throws out a plan, and that plan rolls out for the benefit of wananchi. But which deal will you cut? How much is your cut? Innocent, unauliza ni biashara gani Gachagwa was doing business with government. Has Gachagwa ever did business with any other person except government? Is Gachagwa not the one who was supplying wheelbarrows to Bungoma for 100,000 per wheelbarrow kwa Lusaka, because they were partners in crime? All the money that Uhuru he was accusing Uhuru for having detained at the courts, the 200 million, was it not proceedings from payments from the county governments in the pretext that he supplied what? So in the office of deputy president, I think aliendeleza tu ile script. You had the rumor about when Ruto was deputy president, he would report in office at 5 a.m. and anybody who needed any contract with any sector in government had to appear in that office by that time, sort out Ruto first before they can be considered for any bidding. So I think Gachagwa is a good student, you said. So it's just anafuata nyayo kama vile alivyofanyia Uhuru Ruto, basi ndivyo Gachagwa naye anafanya. So hiyo 5 billion inatoka tu hapo. Contractors wakikuja, wale wanataka kutengeneza expressway, kupanda maua kwa expressway, wanaacha ka bilioni hapo ndio wapewe hela. And so there is nothing Gachagwa is selling except that office. And so hapa ni kubaya, na tuelewe kwamba nchi hii tutaipoteza kama tutasimama kuiokoa kabisa kabisa. Na hii sio kutisha ama kushinikiza, iwe ni swala ambalo tunalichukua kama ni jukumu. Okay, we have a role and a responsibility to rescue this country. Yani nchi imechukuliwa na wametoroka nayo, so we are chasing and be able to capture them and get back our country. But if we give it any other approach, mi naona tukipoteza. Now, before we change gears and get another person to make submission, Innocent, na hiyo mkono umeinua ama unasalimia Lala?
Yeah, Bernard, hao wakikuja Lala, wakikuja, let's not forget the corruption thing. As they continue impeaching, especially our ndani walituambia ati they had given something. Hizi mashift zote na nini hizi all the tenders zinapatiwa, who is being given? Maybe these are some of the guys who are getting this. I just wanted to concur with what you were saying, that maybe hizi matenders zenye zinaendelea kupatiwana, this is where they get their kickback, na hii pesa imetokana imefika hivi, and that's why tunataka waendelee tu kusema na kila mtu aendelee hata MPs ama nini, where they have gotten also those things. And there's mtu kwa comment ananiambia kama president anafanya legit business. What I meant is whatever business is doing it now, ameregister, but what I said is we want to know hizi biashara zote amekuwa nazo, hizi mandege zote amekuwa nazo, hizi airports zote anataka because ukienda Wilson Airport ni kama is the shares. Tuanze kujua hii pesa after these 2 years ametoa wapi, amenunua all these things, all these hotels. And that's what I meant to mtu wa comment. That's what I wanted to clarify, that saizi is doing good business, but alitoa hiyo pesa wapi kununua hizo mandege, hizi hotels zenye watu walikuwa wameshindwa nazo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that legit was kwa mabano. Okay, it's in wherever inverted commas. It's not legit per se, and it's like the politics is the business in this country. Tusidanganyane. Hapa hakuna kupanda na kuvuna, hakuna kununua na kuuza. The kind of things that are happening with Ruto, Gachagwa and all that, what they are selling is politics. What they are exchanging is politics. And that's why the economy cannot be affected by what they are doing. I mean, positively for the common mwananchi. If they were, kama wangekuwa wanaleta mattresses, wakinunua mattresses, ama wakinunua mahindi kutoka kwetu, wakienda kuuza Uganda, wakirudi nayo, we'll have money. We'll have, our economy will be expanding. But this one is vituko tu. Vituko vya kufanya nini? Vya kutumia siasa na kupora nchi. What we are doing is having more wherever output than input. And they are carrying the money out of the country. Now that even makes the situation very bad, because wangekuwa wanajenga hizo nyumba hapa, wangekuwa wananunua hizo nyumba hapa, ama wanaleta hiyo pesa wanaweka kwa hii economy, the economy will grow and Kenyans will have a better life. But we have careless people, I mean massless people who are heartless in the approach towards they are satisfying their greed to a level whereby they don't think about the children, they don't think about the future, they don't think about the country. It's that bad. Therefore, let's arm ourselves and do the necessary in securing this country completely. As a reminder, we are paying our bills. Tafadhali naomba tumakinike kutuma michango yetu tunapoendelea na kipindi. I will be sharing the details in the comment section. I need to have some good response. I think so far I've gotten responses from 3 people only, and we are lacking behind. So tafadhali tusisahau tunapoendelea na mazungumzo, tuhakikishe kwamba pia tunachangia kusupport channel na kusupport kulipa bills, ili tuendelee kusema mambo haya na kutekeleza wajibu ambao ni muhimu. Now I want to have this balancing equation. Wangira, we were to come back to you, but before that, can we hear from Julius briefly, then Lala, and then ndio tuanze hiyo round ya pili na Wangira. Wana Julius, how are you? Julius, you unmute. The mic is beside your name on the screen. Julius, are you there? Okay, it appears Julius is not there. Reverend Lala, I think you should take it.
Habari zenu. Bernard, good to see you. Innocent, Justice, Jared, Julius na wenzangu ambao mko nyuma. Habari zenu. Nimeingia sasa hivi na nilikuwa nataka kusikiza kidogo, lakini the only word ningependa kusema ni kwamba each one of you, every one of us is so critical, the liberation of our nation. Kenya is tied, tumefungwa. We are a blessed nation, but we have not even started on the economic journey. Whatever has happened was laying a foundation, whether it was Uhuru's time, but we have not even scratched the surface of what we can become. Let me remind you, I live in a little state called Ohio. I think it's one of the 50th states, one of very small if you look at it. But the economy of Ohio is larger than southern, from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, up to South Africa put together. This economy is still bigger. The GDP of Ohio is bigger than Switzerland, but the same rank as Turkey. That is where we ought to be going. We are still very, very tiny in terms of the economic development, things that we can achieve as a nation. And therefore, each one of you, each one of us is crucial. And the only thing that is stopping us from going where we ought to go, reaching where we ought to reach, is corruption. And it is the people like Ruto, like Gachagwa, and others that are stopping the potential that our nation has. There's no single reason why we should have chokoras living in Mabati, women suffering, can't afford basic. No single reason. We have the resources. So people like Gachagua should go. And let me say this. It would be a mistake to let Gachagua go and leave Ruto. So my belief is that everyone who is stopping us from where we are going should go. Where it starts, let it start from any. When it starts from Gachagua, it should have been gone yesterday, followed by others. They should go. And all of us, we should actually repent, because I think we are partakers of all this. We are the ones who are bribing for our brothers to get jobs and giving that policeman to let us go. Okay, we should stop all that if we want a nation, because this toxic thing is so deep. But it has to start with leaders, because they bear the biggest responsibilities in all this. So they should go. Having said that, I think I'd like to step back because I've just come in and I like to listen. And thank you guys. God bless.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Lala. We appreciate that. And holistically, let's give it a wider perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to engage, don't watch the show alone. Let the number of viewers ipande tafadhali. There we go. Please, let's keep inviting somebody as we proceed in the discussions. I will bring in a video and then we bring Wangira to share his second part of the submission. And this controversy about the healthcare, even as we don't forget what Gachagwa and the team are tussling about. There seem to have a mystery around the quest for William Ruto to change the whenever the healthcare system, which has already been changed, and they are working around the clock to see to it that it's effected by the 1st of October. And it's looking, it's having a lot of questions than answers. So as Kenyans, where do we stand in all this? What do we stand to gain? What do we stand to lose? And how do we go further? Do we revert to NHF? Do we fight so that it is not changed? Let's just look at the way this is being analyzed and carry a lesson or two.
On a good year, when everything is working perfectly, the Social Health Authority would have control of 273 billion shillings. If that rises, it could be 300 billion shillings.
So a third of that?
A third of that is going to buy a system.
Yeah.
Are you telling me the problem with the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, was a system, and to correct it, you need a system that cost 104 billion shillings to be paid up front by some investors, recoverable for the next 10 years?
That's what they're telling you.
Remember, to recover in 10 years, you need to take some 10 billion shillings every month.
Yeah.
Where is that money going to come from?
Yet we don't even have money for these other funds.
Exactly. And the analysis that we were doing earlier and looking at the moment, let's just do the math. So assuming SHA is working very well, it has 300 billion shillings of revenue in a year. And it does not come in a month. It comes progressively.
Yeah.
So 300 billion shillings, they're allowed to spend 5% of that on administrative costs. That gets you to 15 billion shillings. At the moment, NHIF's payroll is worth 6 billion shillings. Let's assume the Social Health Authority implements a payroll that is of similar size, 6 billion shillings. The operational costs that are required, you can put an estimate. But on the face of it, 15 minus 6 is 9 billion shillings. This 9 billion shillings is supposed to finance the consortium monthly installments and at the same time finance operations of the organization.
Yeah.
So essentially, who is going to pay for this? Because you're implementing it, it has to be paid from the same. There are questions, and that may begin to explain to you why leadership at the Social Health Authority had to change. Because there were a lot of things that were being done to ensure that this rollout meets the deadline of 1st of October 2024. But you can clearly see the government itself is not ready with resources. The government is not ready with a system. But ask yourself, the National Hospital Insurance Fund has been operating in this country.
Yeah.
They've been settling claims.
Yes.
Never mind, sometimes resources are not available.
Yeah.
Never mind, some county governments that are looking forward to benefit from the Social Health Authority have not been remitting NHF deductions. But they have been settling claims.
Something, yes.
There's a system they've been using.
Yes.
What would it cost to take the same system, build up on it progressively, so that at this time as you speak, so you roll out on 1st of October, you admit a patient in a hospital, how are you going to claim?
Data. Yeah.
You have no system. The system is to be built by the consortium. How are you going to claim? Are you going to use the NHIF system? If you're going to use it, and the vision is to ensure that you have visibility, traceability of all the products and non-pharmaceutical and pharmaceutical, how will you do it?
And a good question, that is another question I want to ask, these uncertainties, is have medical institutions been onboarded into the system? Has anyone been onboarded?
But the system doesn't exist.
Exactly. So doctors are supposed to, institutions are supposed to apply, apparently. There's a WhatsApp group.
It seems to,
apparently they're supposed to be the way they're supposed to,
the executive runs things.
To apply, to be onboarded. And then if you accept, they'll tell you you'll be onboarded, but you're given only 2 days to respond. So kubali na tumekwambia tutaka ku onboard. And then now hospitals are wondering how will they engage with the system if we end up having that system? Because 2nd of October, there needs to be something in place.
Yeah.
So how will the system be run? Will people be given cards? Will they use the NHF cards? Will they use biometrics? And then what happens if there's an emergency case? Mtu amekuja. So do you need to, will you be
According to what Sam said is when you get to hospital, they register you first before they give you services. But that's in an accident.
That's in an accident situation. So were there any trials done? Because I keep thinking that this thing is being pushed. Has there been any trials done?
Yeah.
In fact, even how the payments will be made? Because you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Gituku, but so you are treated and then invoices are sent and then you'll be paid after 3 months. So what happens to those small hospitals and health centers in the villages? Will they be able to sustain for 3 months as they wait for the payments? And then finally, Yvonne, as I finish, the government announced that they're planning to register 12 million households. Yesterday, when we had that meeting, which had the Minister for Interior and the Minister for Health, PSS, wakisema tumeshirikiana, sasa we're going to use the same system that was used to register 6 million farmers for fertilizers.
Subsidy, yeah.
So 12 million households, around 38 million people in the next few days. How will that happen? Because come 2nd of October, there has to be something. Linus amesema sheria imesema kwamba NHIF ceases to exist.
But Jamila, you know, all
Bwana Wangira, wewe ndio mweledi wa haya mambo. Hebu tueleze.
Before I talk about, you know, the chief versus NHIF, you know, let me just say something about, you know, regarding Gachagwa and the entire thing that I now call the criminal enterprise. Bernard, you know, there is this member of parliament called Dismas Barasa. Dismas Barasa is member of parliament for Kimilili, and I understand is the guy who is supposed to be moving the motion that will impeach, you know, Rigathi Gachagwa. The other day we were told that he had acquired a helicopter worth 200 million Kenya shillings. You know that 200 million Kenya shillings, Bernard, is not pocket change. For a member of parliament who is earning 700,000 shillings a month, that is before deductions, to afford a helicopter worth 200 million shillings, Bernard, you know, it brings in a lot of questions. And it takes me to now regarding Gachagwa, the guy we are being told that, you know, he has accumulated assets, you know what, it could be assets in form of money or other fixed assets, you know what, 5.7 billion shillings in only 2 years. 2 years, 5.7 billion shillings, Bernard. You know, it brings in a lot of questions, you know, for a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, whose salary is only 1 million shillings a month. That would translate to around 24 million shillings in 2 years. How was he in a position to accumulate assets worth 5.7 billion shillings in 2 years? And again, where is the asset recovery authority in this? You know, where are they? You know, where is the EACC? Where is the DCI? Where is the Financial Reporting Center? Where is the KRA? Where is DPP? You know, because the reason why I'm raising up these issues, Bernard, is because, you know, if there were no problems between Rigathi Gachagwa and William Samoei Ruto, you know, this issue of him having accumulated, you know, 5.7 billion shillings in 2 years could not have come up. It has only come up, Bernard, because, you know, there's a disagreement between him and William Samoei Ruto. And again, if the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya can be in a position to accumulate 5.7 billion shillings in 2 years, then, you know, I'll also be interested to know how much has his boss accumulated. Because we have a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya who has accumulated 5.7 billion shillings in 2 years. How much has his boss accumulated? You remember, you know, when the CSs were being revetted, you remember there was CS Kindiki, I remember, and the other guy I'm forgetting. And, you know, they were telling us that, you know, their wealth had increased by 100 million, Bernard, you remember, in 22 months. I remember one of them saying that, you know, their wealth had increased by 100 million. So here we are being told that there's a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, Bernard, who in 2 years, you know, has accumulated wealth worth 5.7 billion, Bernard. How? And, you know, if this is the case, then, you know, I'll be asking how much has his boss accumulated? You know, that should be something of interest, Bernard, to the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya should be asking such questions, Bernard. And again, I would be interested to know, what is the reason of their disagreement? The reason of the disagreement between William Samoei Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. For example, some of us who are students of history, we know that the disagreement between Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi Odinga was purely ideological. It was a purely ideological disagreement. Jomo Kenyatta was a capitalist, Jaramogi was a socialist. And that was the reason why they disagreed. Why do you think that, Rigathi Gachagua and William Samoei Ruto have disagreed? Those are questions that perhaps somebody can help us answer. Then on the issue of, the healthcare, the chief versus the NHIF, Bernard, we are in a dilemma here as the ordinary people of the Republic of Kenya, because Bernard, come 1st of October, you not have a medical cover, because NHIF will have ceased to operate, and they will come in a new thing called SHA, which is the Social Health Authority that will be running the chief. Bernard, there's something we are not being told here. The NHIF, Bernard, has assets. I remember that lady, the clip you have just played, NHIF is also still being owed, especially by government itself, government agency and county governments. They are still owing NHIF. Bernard, where will this money go? The money that NHIF is being owed, where will it go? We are not being told where it will go. Because, there could have been what we call the transition clause, where as much as, NHIF is ceasing to operate, but anybody who is holding, an NHIF card should continue benefiting from the services of NHIF for at least 3 months, as they put in order, the services for shift. But we are not being told that that will be the case. We are being told that, it will cease to operate. So by tomorrow, today, in fact today, no, tomorrow will be the last day of the existence of NHIF, but we are not being told where would the assets go. So, is somebody, Bernard, planning to pocket, especially the non-remitted monies that are owed by NHIF in his pocket? Because where will this money go to? Where will it go to? Because there's money being owed. There's money being owed. And it's in millions or billions of shillings. Where will this money go? Nobody is telling us. But wanataka kutuacha kwenye mataa where come 1st of October, you don't have a medical cover, chef has not started working, NHIF is not existing. Then if you're caught in sickness, Bernard, and you walk into a hospital, then you don't know how to cater for yourself, Bernard. So it's such a sad thing. It's such a sad thing. It's such a sad thing, especially given that those people in power don't seem to care so much about who the ordinary Kenyans. They don't seem to care. They don't seem to care, and that's why they are operating in the manner they are operating. And Bernard, the reason why they are operating in the manner that they are operating is simply because there are people who are looting. As even we are discussing on this platform, Bernard, there are people who are planning on how to loot. And that's why, Bernard, they must always be a lacuna. And this lacuna, Bernard, is designed to help them continue looting. And that's why, even when they were coming up with that particular law, they never thought about a transition, that we get a transition of 3 months, for those people who are holding NHIF cards to continue enjoying the services as we put in place, the operations of HIF. So, we are in a dilemma as the ordinary people of the Republic of Kenya. And just like, the South African writer wrote, I cry for my beloved country, Kenya, Bernard. Let me just stop there and allow somebody else to come in. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Wangira. It's sad. It's sad that unajua serikali ya Ruto inafanya kama I think Innocent will the best person to to express this is Tony PK. Ni kama kupiga mtu ngeta, okay? Kupiga mtu ngeta umpatiangi a transition period. Unaweka wewe chini, unachukua kila kitu, unaenda. So hapa ni the main thing hapa, one, hiyo NHF kwa sababu iko na assets. The main focus ni how those assets can be grabbed and be made into personal properties and be shared as soon as possible. Now the transition period, even wakati tulibadilisha hela, tukibadilisha the 1,000 note, there was a 6 months period for you to submit the old money so that you get the new money. And the old money had a period of service. How do you end a service today and begin a new one tomorrow without proper structure? You are still negotiating for the software and things like that. To me, hii ni serikali ya kuibia wananchi na hakuna kazi ingine wanafanya ila kuiba. Kwa hivyo tukubali kwamba tulianguka kwa mikono ya wezi, tukaanguka kwa mikono ya wanyang'anyi, and what is happening right now, it's robbery. Yani is it robbery without violence or violence with robbery? It's terrible, and it is like, you know, they don't want to spare anything. They don't want to leave anything behind. So I would advise Kenyans, if you must have a health insurance, I think we should just go for the private one. I forget this public one, because this one, it's a majorly a collection program. It is not service oriented. Sioni kama hii mambo ya shift itaenda kuwa honored anywhere. That means you will have the card, you will pay your premium, but siku ya kwenda hospitali kuhudumiwa, either hospitali itakataa ama utaambiwa kuna hela kwa kadi yako ya kufanya nini, ya wewe kuhudumiwa. So it is just a circus, it's a smoke screen to make Kenyans make contribution. And you remember what Ruto said on I think CNN. He talked about after the finance bill failing, he has come up with a domestic way of collecting money so that is able to keep the operations of the government afloat. Could this be part of the way of mopping up all the money that is in the pockets of Kenyans? And through these fictitious, to me, this is fictitious schemes, because hazina matokeo. Ni wewe kuweka pesa ndani, lakini kutoa pesa ndani, sioni the avenue for that money coming out. You will contribute your 500, yes. You contribute your 1,000, yes. But it is just a levy like that one of housing levy. That's what I see here. Because if NHF has not honored some of the claims, and now you want to carry on a service that is yet to be established, and you want Kenyans, all of them in it, nasema you will get 12 million households to register. This is not just of ambition. It is a matter of a public robbery, and the earlier we see that, the better. Yes, Reverend Lala.
I just wanted to make a correction here. I think we should be educated enough to understand some facts here. I think this is my brother Wangira. He mentioned that Kenyatta was a capitalist and Odinga was a communist. I think that's the propaganda that people, I think, should be corrected in our thoughts. Kenyatta was actually a party leader in the communist movement. And it is just a fight that for the liberation that Odinga was more of a sympathizer, but a die-hard communist was a Kenyatta. So I think we got to put things in perspective, because it's easy to make this assumption that were preached to us when actually the facts are in the contrary. Yes, this was a sympathizer to an extent, but Kenyatta was the die-hard communist more than Odinga. Thank you.
Hiyo sasa ni vita ya historia, hapo sitaki kuingilia. But this country has seen many things. Wangira, want to respond to that?
Bernard, I didn't say that. I didn't say that Jaramogi was a communist. I say that Jaramogi was a socialist. I was very, very careful on what I said. And that, Kenyatta was a capitalist. And there are facts to prove that, Jaramogi was a socialist and, Kenyatta was a capitalist. And, now, Lala is bringing in another dimension where he claims that, Kenyatta was a communist. So, I don't know what his source is. Perhaps he has a source to support his claim. And, this being historical facts, Bernard, we cannot be accurate on them because we all read about them in books.
Okay. Thank you. So what is the difference between, let's go to the lecturer. A difference between socialist and communist and then capitalist. Innocent. Innocent, are you there? We ni kama amenaswa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to engage, let's be active. Tafadhali, like the video. Let me just confirm how many likes we have received so far. Please, like I said yesterday, the more likes we get, the better we help YouTube to promote our videos to more new people. So if you just watch the show and you don't like, you don't respond to the video, you are part of the reason why our channel is not growing as fast as possible. So tafadhali tunakuencourage, thumbs up is important for all our videos. And okay, the poll question we are responding to, we asked, should the DP Gachagua step down following the impeachment petition signed by over 300 MPs as it is being reported? And so far, we have 112 people have cast their vote on Sound Candy Talk Live. And of the 112 people, 45% say yes, he should resign. And 55% say no, he should not resign. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. We have 112 people have cast their vote and only 15 have liked the video. This is an injustice. Please, let's give the videos thumbs up. It's important. Help us as we progress. We cannot have 113 people and only 15 have liked the video. That's too imbalanced. Let me check on this other channel and how we are doing on the same, just to update on the progress of both the poll question and the reaction on the video. We really encourage you, please, let's just adhere to these simple instructions. They help a great deal. You may not understand how important that is, but just believe us, okay? Believe us when we tell you that the thumbs up helps a great deal, okay? So far here, we have 88 people have cast their vote. Same question, should DP Gachagua step down following the impeachment petition signed by over 300 members of parliament? There's something fishy here. Okay, the poll has disappeared. Okay, let me refresh again just to get where it is. On this one, I think there is an improvement. We have 30 people have liked the video of the 88 that have cast their vote. So what was Sound Candy Talk Live are not liking the video properly. But even this one is less by far. So please, let's ensure that we work hard in securing. It takes less than a second just to give a thumbs up on the video. Please, let's do that. So here, how many people? The average is almost the same. Okay, 89 people have cast their vote. 52 say yes, he should resign, and 48 say no, he should not resign. So it appears averagely the thoughts and the opinion of Kenyans is almost the same on the matter whether Gachagua should step down or not. But from the look of things, itakwenda vile inakwenda. All right. Bwana Innocent, I had asked you a question. Are you there? All right. Innocent wangu leo ana maswala.
The push to oust Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua by way of impeachment is gaining momentum, with more National Assembly members allied to President William Ruto expressing their support for the motion. The members of Parliament accuse the Deputy President of advancing tribal politics and playing succession politics instead of focusing on delivering the Kenya Kwanza administration's pledges to the people. And as Laura Otieno reports, the UDA party has vowed to eject Gachagua from the party should the impeachment motion sail through Parliament, with the president's personal aide, Farouk Kibet, accusing the DP of preaching tribalism.
The clouds are gathering above Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as more members of Parliament appended their signatures in support of the motion to yank him from the seat of power. Legislators from Mount Kenya, allied to President William Ruto, fingered Gachagua for alleged failure in delivering on duties assigned to him, advocating for a change of the president's principal helper.
Kiti kilikuwa na mwenyewe. Si mnajua hivyo? Hatutaki kusikia mambo mengine. Hiyo maneno tumetoa kabisa. Hata wengine sijui wapi na wengine wapi. Hiyo tumesema rais wetu ametuahidi ni Profesa Kithure Kindiki.
Huyu ndio deputy wa kwanza ambaye amekubaliwa kutia cabinet, full cabinet, lakini badala yeye asaidie rais kufanya kazi. Yeye kazi yake ni kupigana na president.
Speaking at a Thanksgiving event in Tarbo, Uasin Gishu County, more leaders threw salvos at the country's second-in-command, accusing him of advancing tribal politics, with Navaholo MP Emmanuel Wangwe touting the proposal to scrap the appointment of a running mate during the general elections.
Tuweze kuchagua mtu akiwa ni governor, tuchague governor. Akiwa na president, tuchague president. Alafu ateue, baada ya kuchaguliwa, ateue mtu mwenye atasaidiana na yeye kazi.
The Deputy President's party, the United Democratic Alliance, also seemingly keen on cutting links with him, as Secretary General Hassan Omar said impeachment of the Deputy President would be followed by action at party level.
Our immediate concern then will be to eject him also as a member of the party, because then you cannot be found to be grossly incompetent, grossly undermining the constitution and national unity, and then still become a ranking member of this party.
The Deputy President under siege, with the President's personal aide also taking at him.
Wewe mwenye unataka kujitokeza kuwa mkabila, kuja tangaza hapo Nairobi kwamba mimi ajenda yangu kubwa ni ukabila, uone kama utapigiwa kura.
Mtu asituambie mlima, sisi watu wa mlima. Sisi ni watu wa wapi? Hata Kilimanjaro ni mlima wetu wa East Africa. Na bado.
Sources indicate that the impeachment motion against Rigathi Gachagua has so far garnered 300 signatures, with the motion anticipated to be tabled in the coming week. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
So many organizations that...
Mambo ni kama hayo. Justice unasema Gachagua na motion ya Gachagua ikuwe combined na Ruto. Okay. Justice, are you still there? Yote mnanichanganya. Innocent, umefufuka. Namna gani?
Niko salama Bernard.
Nakwambia nyi watu mmeanza kuniharibia show. Nitawapiga mawe. Unajua kwetu mna mahodo. Kwetu Navakholo tunatumanga ile mvua ya mawe. We can send it to go on a mission.
Net ndio inaenda chini na hang.
Comes back. Yes, Wangira had talked about the Jaramogi issue, Jaramogi being a socialist and Kenyatta being a capitalist. And then Lala brought in the communist. And so we are mixed between all these terminologies. Could you be of help to us?
Maybe with my little knowledge, capitalism is an economy structure whereby the private persons owns the production. When you talk about capitalism, then you're talking about the private people who owns the production. But when you talk about socialism, it means it's a society, it's an economy, economic system in which the government owns and controls the majority of the production. So when you talk about social, you're talking about the society whereby the government is the one which owns, and capitalism, then it's the private people. So especially when you are giving contracts or tenders, when you allocation system for capitalism, then you deal with market based, but in socialism you deal with the central planning. You make things in central planning. In terms of economy distribution, the capitalism will always be based on private contracts, and for socialism you'll find the distributed, the economy is equally distributed. And also, what about the government role on those two? You'll find that in capitalism, because these are the private people own the production, there is what we call minimal intervention, and for socialism there is extensive control. So you'll find that the government will try to deal with things in a socialism way because they know that they will control things. But for capitalism, they want things to be minimally intervened. So I don't know what they had asked, but when you have the two words, it means that the people or the government. When you talk about capitalism, means ni wewe pesa ama production, wewe ndio unataka kwa as an individual. But when you talk about socialism, then government inataka kusaidia the society, the all of it. Unless Lala maybe has something to contribute on it.
I think thanks. I think you're correct. I think Wangira also was basically correct. If he meant socialism, which I think Odinga was oriented to that. But I think what has been preached to us is that Kenyatta was capitalistic. I think we have to also look at him from his past. What kind of view did he hold? He actually more indoctrinated into communistic mindset, but when it came to leadership, that's when things shifted, it changed. So when people come with these slogans that Odinga was communist and ideological and capitalist, I think they're not getting the full truth or the full understanding of what was going on then. So that I think that's all I wanted to say. And I think the ideological differences, I think Wangira was correct. Odinga looked at the nation as a whole. How do we use land to better all of us? And Kenyatta adopted what was left In other words, I think one of the issues in the central province has been the land issue. And I think those differences created what we have struggling with at this moment. But you did well, you explained it, my brother, and I think that's where I understand it. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. I think that is clear enough, and Alex is here to shed more light on the same with historical facts. But before he comes in, I want to appreciate everybody who is participating in the show in one way or another. Please, I keep encouraging us. Let's make our contributions to help us sustain our operations without much pressure from our end, and time is running. So kina Mato, Stone PK na wakereketo wa usiku mwanze kuchezea karibu. Masa yangu ndio haya yanaanza kusonga na sitaki kufika mahala ambapo wakati ndio nataka kutoka ndio tunaanza kuwatafuta. So kama mnakuja muwai mapema, la sivyo sisi tutaanza kujipanga mapema pia, ili tukiondoka tuondoke kwa inaitwa nini, kwa mstakabala ambao unafaa, sio kuondoka kana kwamba tumefukuzwa. Lakini asante Bwana Alex, how are you today?
I'm fine, Bernard. How are you, Paul? You've been sick for a while.
Getting better. I'm much better. It was worse, but we thank God we managed.
That's good. They say that sometimes being sick also is good because it works good for your immunity. I hope the good side of it works better for you. But I wanted to inject my 2 cents about socialism. You know, the word socialism has been used wrongly by the Western world to demonize what actually they are good in doing. There is no country that is 100% capitalist, Bernard. No way it can survive. After the World War, I think the Second World War, the then president who actually served 3 terms, which was actually illegal, came up with the Social Security Act. And it's the biggest socialist agenda in the world, the Social Security that America holds. When we look at through in the 60s, when the father of the former Vice President of America came up with the interstate, whereby we have to interconnect roads with every state, and those roads will be owned by the state. The interstates of America are socialist agenda, because America owns all interstates, which you know that they come from east, west, north, and south. They interlink all states. When they came up with a train system that will link Northern America and Southern America, and even all the way to Alaska, which was close to Russia, that was also a socialist agenda. Medical assistance is a socialist agenda. And we can go on and on and on and on what socialist agenda is. Socialist agenda are initiatives that are too huge and too big to protect the society from mass poverty, because private entrepreneur can only do things up to a certain level, and they may not be accountable, because the state and the government are 2 different entities, Bernard. Governments change, the state never changes. Okay, so the state is responsible to hold some things even when there is a transition. So if Uhuru is leaving, Ruto is coming, the state will hold, let's say, NHIF, which is a socialist agenda, and Social Security of Kenya, which is, we don't debunk them, because one government has left, another government is coming, the way Ruto wants to do now. Okay, so every country has a socialist agenda. If you look at China, the Great China, in terms of administration, it's a communist country, But when it comes in terms of financial operation, it's socialist and it's also capitalist. Okay? So what is capitalism per se? Capitalism is when the complete private ownership, okay, whereby there is no intervention by the government on anything. Things are liberalized so that individuals can own and deal with everything the way they want. For instance, in the US, land is owned by the government. Okay? If you want to do any project, and that project ought to be done. Let's say we discover gold where I'm sitting right now. Then, even if my house is here, the state owns the land when it comes to overall do what? Superseding my rights. That's a socialist agenda. But they keep hiding in this word to demonize that socialism is a bad thing. So that if somebody like Malema says we should own the banks, for South Africa to own the banks for black people, it's okay because 99% of the banks owned in South Africa are owned by white people. Okay? For a black person to receive a loan that is magnanimous to start a big project is almost impossible. Therefore, the economy favors the 10% because of the ownership. So when we talk about socialism, socialism is actually a good thing. Socialism is the savior of bad governance when enacted in a good way. Shift could have been the best thing that could have happened because everybody was going to get the 12 million household was to get what? Insurance. But the way it's being projected now, it becomes what? A demon. So the way socialism has been dealt with is what demonizes it. But in countries, for instance, where I stay, the buses, Bernard, whether there is one person in the bus or not, the bus will continue to operate. Okay? And it will be in one place at this time, and it will be where it's supposed to be at the time it's supposed to be. Whether it makes profit or not, it will operate for those two people who do not have cars. Is that not socialism? So this issue of socialism, meaning communism, those are distraction. Where need be, the way China has done, if there's so much problems in enacting political robustness so that we can adhere to the rule of law where there's almost 2 billion people like China, former communist government that deal with people ruthlessly. But when it comes to the economy, whereby you know that socialism will hurt you so much, balance it. That's what they have done. They've taken the good side of this, they've taken the bad side away, and they are able to project the same as a superpower right now. So I don't care whether we are capitalist or we are socialist, as long as we unveil and keep the good side of socialism, communism, and capitalism. All have cons and all have pros. So let's not demonize socialism. Odinga, now finishing, Odinga was a great communist, socialist. Why? Because he saw the need of the people of Nyanza, and he begged Russia to build Russia hospital until today, the biggest hospital in the Western Kenya today. That thing was built long time ago. That was a socialist agenda. But when it came to capitalism, he was a person who believed in private ownership. One of the few people who started private petrol partnership at a young age when Kenya was at below 10 years. He owned Ajip gas stations and many other properties. So he both believed in capitalism and socialism. He was never a true communist. He just believed in the ideology of socialism. But what did Kenyatta? Kenyatta preached capitalism, but when it came to land distribution, what did he become? He became a socialist. Okay? So that's neither here nor there.
Ebu, go slowly, Alex. You are taking us too fast. When did when did Kenyatta capitalist and a socialist? That one is confusing me. The other one nimeshika. Hii Kenyatta nielezee vizuri. Was he a capitalist, a socialist, or a hybrid? Because what you're proposing is a hybrid.
When it came to land, he was never an hybrid. In fact, he even ejected his own people from their own land and looked land elsewhere. Lamu today is almost like a Kikuyu County. When people, all the senators went to see Gachagwa today, even the senator of Lamu went to see who? Gachagwa. You know that. And that is the benefit of socialism. So, I mean, there are things that are unpalatable that we don't even need to go deep because already we are having many problems. But when it comes to how Kenya, started as an economy, Odinga, I think, was right on his ideologies. The person called Kenyatta did not understand on how to balance both because he feared the West. So Kenyatta preached the ideology of capitalism, which actually made him own a lot of properties. But again, when it came now to land itself, land, and I think you people should listen to our friend who used to come here, Tunamitanga Lawi, who talks about how land has been a problem since pre-colonial. You will understand that until today, the Kenyattas subscribe to the ideology of socialism when it comes to land. They've never changed.
Okay,
they don't believe that land should belong to the state.
Alex, I may differ with you a little bit. I think the younger Kenyatta had his training in communism, and I mean, he was more of communist side. But when he came to leadership, when he became the president, I think he moved to the side of capitalism much more. And I think it's important for us also to remember that the European government, that is the Western Europe, whether it is Scandinavians, they follow socialistic economic policies. Politics may be something else, but the economy is basically socialism. Okay, that's why you have the socialist parties all over. So when let's agree with you, when they demonize socialistic, views as if they put it together with communism, which actually is not true, because communism, the extreme is where God is denied and all that stuff. But socialistic, capitalistic, socialistic economic policy is actually what runs Europe even today. And even the US, Alex stated very, very clearly there that even things like insurance, all these things were part of the fear that the Western world had, because pure capitalism was actually going to kill the world. So they had to adopt some of these other, this major items to save the capitalism. And so, Alex, you're correct. And I think it is us here in Africa where we have been thrown these words and then we don't really think through them, when actually socialism is actually what a lot of it, European countries follow. And they are not demonized. You don't hear, people being called communist and anti-God and all that. Yet, when you call yourself socialist in Africa, all of a sudden you become the enemy. So thanks, Alex.
And Bernard, quickly, when the new German and the old German merged together, it did not become a capitalist country, it became a socialist country. If you go to Germany today, it's a true socialist government, because almost 45% of your taxes are taken from your paycheck. But if you want to do from kindergarten to university, whether it's 10 PhDs, you will never pay tuition. When it comes to healthcare, not even a copay will you pay in the hospital. When it comes to roads, even next year, here there's a problem whereby when it's streets, if they are going to fix the road in the street, it's going to be put on your house so that you start paying the government back. German does not do that. So it's bigger than what people really understand. We look at it from the Cold War point of view. That is the problem of these two words. Socialism and capitalism are viewed from the Cold War point of view, which is very wrong. And every time people say Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was a socialist, we demonize him because of the Cold War. And even Lala was quick to protect Jaramogi because he felt he was coming from the point of view of Cold War. That is a fact. But we must embrace socialism, because socialism, if we cannot embrace socialism, the people who are in the lowest rank of the society will not meet their needs, Bernard. Trust me.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Alex, for that clarity. Naona Innocent anainua mkono. Innocent, unasemaje?
Exactly. That's what is supposed to be. The problem is, especially in Africa, ama in Kenya, when the capitalism takes over, then they exaggerate the services, ama hao ndio wanafaidika because they own. But the problem, especially in Kenya, whereby you pay the taxes and you never get the services. You pay the tax and you never get it. That's why you see Alex is saying that maybe in America or in Germany, socialism works well, because after you pay, even if you pay, especially in Kenya, that's what people were arguing, were demonstrating for. You pay the taxes, but you never see what the taxes do for you. So if you want to make Kenya a socialist economy, then you pay the tax, but they do for you the services, especially what they are saying. Kama ni school fees, wacha hii maneno ya basari ati iko kwa MCA, iko kwa inakuja senator, ingine iko kwa MP, ingine iko kwa president. You see all those things. When you talk about socialism, then hizi pesa sikienda, wacha siende ino kikabu moja, and then the services are done. And that's why you see, especially in America, it's easy for them to do kama ni education, kama ni insurance. Those things are they're easily done, because once you pay, the responsibility remains with the government. Socialism. But when it's capitalism, sasa hawa ndio unasikia mabillionaires wenye wanataka kuown, ama the individuals who want to do business. So especially the business people, they don't want to release the services to the government, because wanajua wakipatiana, then your service, tuseme like if I have an hospital, I want to run an hospital as an individual. So you see, I need to profit. But if a government has an hospital and it's cheaper than my hospital, I'm a capitalist, and the government is social. So you see, mimi nitasikia vibaya as an individual. So that's why unasikia Alex anasema Cold War. Cold War inakuja because of the capitalism. I want to do the same business and the government wants to do the same business. Thank you.
Bernard, let me say one thing, just one thing. I think we must also understand that the problem that we have in Kenya is, one, we have a constitution that we did not follow. Let Kenyans know that all those congressmen and women in the US, when they come into office and the time they leave poorer than when they got in. The only money comes after they leave office. Now they are known, they can write books, they can do a lot of things. But generally, some of them live in their offices because they are there to do the work of the people. So Kenyans, these politicians and others, they are there to enrich themselves. Come to the US, all those big names, it's just a big name. The salary, we know the salary. And they don't enrich themselves while they are in the office. In fact, many of them had pay cuts for them to be congressmen, okay, and women, okay? So the money comes way after they leave the office. And so the difference between Kenyan parliamentarian is that the day they come in, they have this access to public funds and our money, and so they lose focus on what they are supposed to do. So I don't even think they are following anything called the constitution. These are just thieves. So I want people to know that, Kenyans to know that, that exactly. People live in their offices. In the US, they stay in small apartments. The only time they live in the right home is when they fly home, these Congress people, okay? So Kenyans must know that this group that we have must be kicked out, and then we need people who will enforce the law, who will live according to the constitution. Then whether choice of system government we follow will work. But right now it doesn't work. It can't work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Lala. Now, Alex, I know you have something to say, but before that, let me just strike in a balance here in terms of the Kenyan situation. The Kenyan situation is not that we have not a liking for socialism. We are like, well, my experience, because when I came to Nairobi, I remember when Kenya Bus was still Kenya Bus, and there was a bus at every time you went to the stage, you couldn't stay 2 minutes, the bus arrives, and when that time for departure arrives, it will leave. The transport system was effective and was working. What happened? The private sector, the matatu sector came in, okay? And the competition now between the private sector, which you are now calling capitalism, okay, with the government bus service, all right, begin to compete. It took one man, okay, get into that Kenya bus, run it down, literally, okay, so that he paves room for this matatu to take over. So we cannibalize ourselves, especially on projects and systems that are geared towards helping the masses. To me, life thrives in a balance. We would be doing much better if people had choices, okay? Like right now, we have a choice of either riding an Uber or taking a public bus or driving yourself where you want to go. But there are people who are so twisted in their operation in such a way that they want to have the whole cake to themselves. So instead of them sharing the space with others, they want to get that space for themselves and kick out everybody else. Also, in the process, we end up killing what is supposed to help the people and what is supposed to help the country move forward. Like what Innocent is talking about, after you pay the taxes, the government should do this. One of the worst things we have accepted in this country is government to do things for us. The government is supposed to have its own operational system, not responding to wananchi. Like things like education should not be released to anybody to control. Things like wherever food security or agriculture should not be left at the mercy of the private sector. Healthcare should not be left at the mercy of outsiders. It needs to be a government program that is sustained by the government for the sake of the people. So it is a continuous system that works, and Kenyans are beneficiaries of a government that is operating, that the hospitals are stocked with medicine, have sufficient staff or wherever doctors, and nurses. And these nurses are taken care of. They are not hanging themselves and taking their lives because they have not been paid for 6 months. They have not been paid for 4 months. Now, what we have here is a people who want to make money at the expense of the people. So what happens? They will destroy something like Kenya Bus so that their matatu takes over. They will go to education and go and kill a university like wherever, Jomo Kenyatta, okay? So that their own private university can now what? Get customers. So it's all man society like Nyerere describes us. And that is, to me, what is our unmaking. And all these terminologies of socialism, capitalism, communism, they are all used just for political gimmicks. But the reality is we are our own enemies and we are our own destroyers, especially when it comes to the robust breaking forth of this country for it to be able to take care of its own people. That is what I can say on that. So ni sisi tuamue. Na kwangu mimi, the social the socialism approach needs to strike to work in harmony. Let's have that hybrid system whereby wewe kula pesa kidogo, okay? Kwa nini wewe uende kupoison mahindi ama uende Kenya Seed uhakikishe kwamba mbegu ile inauziwa mwananchi wa kawaida haifai, ili mahindi yako ile umepanda Kongo ikuje na iuzwe kwa bei ya juu. You get that? But you are setting that program against the people, all of it because you want to make maximum profit. But if everybody made their 5 shillings, their 3 shillings, their 5 shillings, their 3 shillings, and we are all sharing that market, we'll all thrive together. And so something has to happen to us as a people. And that's what I agree with Stony PK. We need to have a leadership in this country that will overhaul everything. And ikiwezekana, we will need to ventilate the option of devaluation. German did it, okay? We devaluate our money, okay? So that the richest people become poor tomorrow. Ndio mtakisikia kilio. Alex, uko wapi? Na masangu ndio hayo nataka kuanza kufunga.
You know, Bernard, let me be quick. At the center of all this controversy that we are seeing today, we are the victim. We are the victim because we don't have enough information or knowledge. And even if we have it, we are looking at it from a tribal or a political point of view. When Ruto came to power, he auctioned our country. I think in the next 1 year or 2 years, what happened to Jacob Zuma in South Africa is going to happen to a man called William Samoei Ruto. The Gupta brothers actually auctioned South Africa. Remember, from the airport services, remember the South African airline. Remember, actually, what we are having, South Africa today is having massive power cuts because, again, the Guptas had a deal with it. And when you look at what happened to the Gupta brothers did and the state capture, and eventually when they ran away from South Africa, their safe haven was not in India. They went to United Arab Emirates. And you know, we have 9 Emirates. Emirates are like states or counties, we can say. They are small, but they are different. They are the United Arab Emirates is comprised either of 8 or 9 Emirates. And Abu Dhabi is the richest of all the Emirates. And this is where the Gupta brothers went. Now, the Gupta brothers had engineered and experimented something that many of the Western countries had not foreseen. And they actually succeeded in terms of how neocolonization works without much ado. You buy your president, you capture the president, You decide who is going to become a minister. Remember, the Gupta brothers were the ones who were deciding who was to become the minister for transportation because they wanted to deal with the airport, who was to become the minister for energy because they wanted to deal with what? With the distribution of electricity and also the national grid, so on and so forth. The trips that Ruto took, the many trips that we have been seeing, that brought even the oil ambayo Moses Kuria brought to Kenya. This is the center of the problem, that deals were made, finalized, companies were started, and these companies that we are discussing today, the Abu Dhabi company, the Adani company, are not the problem. The problem is the companies in the center of all these are the ones that are owned by William Samoei Ruto. In all these three controversies, Apeiro is owned by Ruto. Airport PLC is owned by Ruto. And the shift that is managing the digital fund, Amoco, is owned by Ruto. You can see a man who has an appetite to suffocate Kenyans by lying that it is these companies that we are dealing with. But practically, the people who are collecting money, keeping money, distributing money, and have every authority of our money are the three companies at the center of all this. And they are owned by William Samoei Ruto. And I've said,
Sorry Alex, we have lost you. Pole, inaonekana neti yako imekuchapa. Naomba hivi masaa ndio hayo. Nashukuru kila mmoja, naomba tafadhali tuanze sasa kutamatisha. Alex, umerudi?
I think so. I don't know. Unanisikia?
Yeah, conclude now. Yeah.
Yeah, let me conclude. Like 1992, the experiment that was done with Golden Bag, whereby we made a lot of noise about the 20 billion that was taken. We thought it was Saitoti, Moi, and a few politicians. When we had the 1992 and 1998 election, I think 1992, then it was something, then 1998, the beneficiaries, the politicians, got money from where they did not know. And when they started barking like dogs, people like Muite found out, people like Wamalwa found out. In fact, there is one Kalenjin man who is on the record saying that when the chicken came home to roost, all politicians found they had eaten the Golden Bag money. And where did Golden Bag scandal go? Later on, we sold this, the hotel and the gold. We forgot about it, and the case somebody turned from Patni and it became Saul, and the rest is history, Bernard. And that is what is going to happen. Pauls are going to turn into Sauls. At the center of these companies, all these, Bernard, I guarantee you, Raila has a stake. I guarantee you, Kioni has a stake. I guarantee you, Gachagwa is making noise because he did not get the percentage he wanted. I guarantee you, by now, Morara has a stake. Ile pesa ilikuwa contributed akanunua ile gari. I guarantee you, something must have come from Shift or from all these companies we are saying. In a book, Leaders Don't Eat Alone. That's how you diffuse mega corruptions. And Ruto is so good in it. So we are making noise without doing what we really need to do. Politicians will not save us. All these things we are seeing in the Senate. Bernard, ile ni mchezo tunaona. All these things in court, we've seen judges walking with millions of money in bags and nothing was done. And even Sonko has told us through vocal voices on how judges can be corrupted. What happened? People were gagged. Unless we take the law in our own hands and we say this will stop, Bernard, we will continue to talk here the rest of our life. Why? Because the former Secretary for United States, Kofi Annan, told us when two elephants fight, it is not bad. But Bernard, wait until two elephants make love. that is when it is bad. The two elephants are making love. Raila and Ruto are making love, and that is dangerous, Bernard. Thank you.
Wow. Now, Innocent, your 2 minutes. Lala, your 2 minutes. We call it a day. It's 2 a.m. East African time. Masaa kung'atuka.
Yeah, Bernard, I'll just conclude by saying let the big boys continue fighting so that we know more about what is happening in this government, because through that we are realizing that kuna vitu zingine hatukuwa tumejua, and through their fighting will continue they'll continue and bringing out those issues. So let them continue fighting. Kama my impeachment wacha ziendelee. Please, Kenyans, don't forget to do what we are supposed to do. As they continue unfolding the other issues, na si tuendelee kupiga zingine. As they continue doing their own work there, na sisi tuendelee kufanya. So there are many things, Bernard, which are supposed to be done. So ni vile tulisema kama hii channel inashika kitu moja inafanya, hii channel zingine wacha zifanye, watu wa TikTok wafanye, watu wa media wafanye huko, and all of us we are able to salvage this country. Otherwise, the slogan remains, Ruto must go. As sijui Mkenya maandamano keeps on saying. Thank you and good night.
All right, thank you, Innocent. Ruto must go. Lala?
Asanteni wapendwa. Yangu ni niseme ni lazima Ruto na wote waondoke. Gachagwa alone is not the work done, but the whole team got to go. So anything that makes the country better, cleaner, more humane, I'll support it. And to all of us as Kenyans, nobody will save us. No amount of money will come to be invested to save us. This is something that we must do ourselves. And it starts with me, it starts with all of us. And we must not relent. Lazima watu waondoke kabisa kabisa, alafu tupendane kama Wakenya. Let's love our nation. As I stated, the lawmakers in the US, actually they come and they leave poorer than most of them come, because they come to serve the nation, to give. It is a sacrifice. In Kenya, it's the opposite. So none of those fellas really love the nation. If they did, they would consider your need and my need. But what we see is how many are becoming billionaires, buying helicopters and all that, which is unheard of in this world what I am in. So what we have are thieves. And what do you do with thieves? You prosecute them, you get rid of them. And as long as we entertain them, as long as we are happy with our thief, we are going nowhere. So my prayer is that Kenyans will come out and take their land. I was so pleased to hear of Traore, what he's doing in this country, Burkina Faso. He has actually instilled love for the nation, discipline, and I think from what I read, there is a big interest in investing in Ouagadougou, whatever the capital is. And number of business people this month have traveled there because they are sure that the investment can be protected, that they will have deals that they can trust, and the Traore's people will benefit and the country will develop. I think in a small way, Rwanda has been able to do that. Kagame has created a perception that goes around the globe that this is a clean place to do business. And so people are investing, good investments are going to Kigali. Kenya, we are losing it. As I close, most of you learned yesterday that some scammers came to a U.S. bank, my bank in the U.S., and made away with money. And that is not good because the information was given by U.S. authority. Okay, and that is like a wildfire all over the U.S. Look at their president, look at some of their people, what they're doing. So even for me, I go to the bank, they think I'm one of those scammers that I perhaps collaborated with these people to defraud American bank, because no longer look at me as the one who has that money or this, something that affects me. It's almost like I have to prove myself that I was not involved in such activities. And this is bad for Kenyan product. And so Kenyan image is suffering so badly outside here, when actually we have a beautiful country, the tech, invasion, things like what we have been able to do, the wildlife, the people, Kenya is a beautiful place, but the image is suffering. And that means the economy will suffer. That means joblessness. That means lack. That means other countries around us will keep on going up while we are going down. And it is you, fellow Kenyans, my brothers, my sisters, that can stop it. And let's stop it now. Let this government go. And let's stand and do it together. Thank you. God bless. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, all of you. Innocent. And the rest, Alex, and the rest of you.
Thank you, Reverend Lala. We appreciate that. And we must stay in the struggle. Let us not relent. We must keep pushing until we win. The harder it gets, the more it is required of us to keep going. So I want to encourage us not to begin to weaken and become complacent. If we really want this country back, we can get it back, but we must be willing to pay the price for the same. On Zerio anasema that analogy of the elephant. Now, Alex, you did not put it properly. You misquoted Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan said, it is said that where two elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffers most. Okay? And he says worse than when two elephants are fighting, the grass suffer. He says when the two elephants are making love, the grass still suffers most. And so when the two opposing forces are fighting,
Bernard, the key words are two. Bernard, the key words are two: fighting and making love. Both things suffer. And my analogy was geared to we were fighting, we suffered, and these people now are making love, we are suffering. That is
exactly. Thank you. Na tumalizia hapa. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for being part and parcel of the conversation today. I trust we have learned one or two things. Let's keep the conversation going even after we sign out. We really appreciate every one of you for always being here, believing in us, supporting us, and of course, we will be here as long as we are required to, because the salvation of this country is our priority. And we owe it to our children. We owe it to our children's children. Let it not come a time where we will ever reach a time where we'll say there was a country called Kenya. Let's save this country and, of course, secure it for our children so that it will go into history that there was a people who couldn't let their country be taken over by strangers, and they watched helplessly. They fought until they got their country back. So you are one of them. Your input is very important. Your input is not any less than any other person. So in whatever little way, in your space, let it be known, this is our country and it's not Ruto's property. It is not politicians' property. It belongs to all Kenyans. And Kenya for all Kenyans is the only Kenya that makes sense. Any other Kenya that is left for the few at the expense of the rest is the wrong Kenya. So let's get serious and keep in the struggle until we win. So it is not over until we win. Let's meet in the next show. God bless you. See you in the